Let's go to Chicago. Jeff Dickerson covers the Bears for NFL Nation and for us, and he joins me on the Goodyear Hotline. And Jeff, it feels like from the very beginning of this process, we have been hearing the Bears' name as being a part of it. And that's not the one that immediately makes sense to me, because the others that we hear about are the ones that have all these extra draft picks. It makes sense why the Jets, the Dolphins, and some of these other places, they have all this draft capital that they could trade if they choose to. What are the Bears, if the Bears are going to find a way to get themselves Deshaun Watson, how are they going to do it?
Well, Greeny, they're so desperate. That's why you hear the Bears' name, because they don't have, like the Jets and Rich just told, they don't have a Sam Darnold sitting there. Mitchell Trubisky is going to be gone. He's out of contract. The only quarterback they have on the roster for next year is Nick Foles, and that's not very attractive to other teams. If they were to get a Deshaun Watson, and believe me, they would love to find a way to get this deal done, they have the 20th pick this year. The problem is they don't have that immediate relief in terms of draft capital for the Texans to get Deshaun Watson. They have some star younger defensive players they could trade to Houston, no doubt, but they aren't sitting there with very enticing first-round picks. But I think they would trade whatever they had to trade, whatever the rules would let them trade, defensive players. They would love to get Deshaun Watson. I think Jimmy Garoppolo was someone that would intrigue them. If that doesn't happen, Greeny, they would have to try to move up and get a Mac Jones or a Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, something like that. I can't stress to you enough the pressure that they are under to find a quarterback after there were no wide-scale changes made following this season. I mean, the Bears are under the gun here. They'll do whatever they can possibly do, but because of their draft status right now, no one is sure if that's going to be good enough.
And we will definitely keep going back to all these places, because this is where all the action is. And so, again, just to recap there, we started in L.A., where all the pressure in the world is on the head coach now, Sean McVay, because they've got a 2-year window to win a championship or bust. Then we went to Detroit, where they think that maybe if Jared Goff winds up working out, then that's going to be one of the greatest trades ever. If they wind up getting their starting quarterback and 2 number ones. Even if it's not, you start building from here and we go. I think they did very well in that trade. Then we went to New York, where the Jets, I think, are going to be all in on Deshaun Watson, and if not, maybe they go with Sam Darnold. And then we went to Chicago, where they are desperate, and I certainly understand that desperation. I lived and worked in Chicago. I lived there for 11 years, and I worked there for 7 years covering sports, including the Bears, actually primarily the Bears. And so their history of quarterback issues is overwhelming. And this general manager is the one who famously traded up to take Mitchell Trubisky and passed, in so doing, on Watson and Mahomes. So they've got to get that right. They have to do something at quarterback. Now, I've told you before, I like the rookies in this class. I'd be lying to you if I said I've seen a lot of Zach Wilson. So I'm basing my opinion on him, on the stuff that you hear from our draft insiders. But when comparisons like Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes come up, that sounds pretty good to me. I have seen a lot of Justin Fields, obviously, playing at Ohio State and everything else, just like you have. And I think he has a chance to be a terrific player. He is what an NFL quarterback is today. I keep going back to this. David Pollack on this show once said he's a more athletic Dak Prescott. Well, sounds pretty good to me. Trey Lance I've never seen in my entire life. He's the kid from the small school. They put together a 1-game season this year. But he's a name that we were hearing about even before the season started, and it will come up again and be heard loudly. And then there's Mac Jones. I told you yesterday, I love Mac Jones. I think that the only thing he doesn't do is run with the football, and I just refuse to believe that we live in a time now where if you can't do that, you can't play quarterback in the NFL. It's remarkable, because we used to live in a time where quarterbacks weren't allowed to run with the ball. It was almost a detriment. Now, if you can't run with it, you can't play quarterback in the NFL? I mean, will there never be another Tom Brady and Peyton Manning again? I totally get the added dimension that Mahomes gives you, that Deshaun gives you, that Josh Allen gives you, that Russell Wilson gives you. I get it. I understand the advantage of that. But those guys don't grow on trees. There are only so many of them. If you've got a guy who can do 9 out of the 10 things you need to do to be an NFL quarterback and do them at a super high level, I still have to believe there's a place for him. So I think Mac Jones has a chance to be a really good quarterback. We'll wait and see. One way or another, the coaching carousel continues to spin. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.